Sir, if we leave here today, we'll leave as brothers. Was We Were Soldiers just another war movie? No, We Were Soldiers wasn't just a battlefield drama. It was a precision-built act of memory. A film forged through chaos, compromise, and quiet respect for people who actually lived these moments. What audiences didn't know is how fragile this production really was, how close it came to collapsing under weather, logistics, emotion, and history itself. Helicopters malfunctioned, schedules shattered, actors carried more weight than costumes could hold, and behind every composed frame was a choice: spectacle or truth. This is not a story about explosions, it's about restraint. These are 20 weird facts about We Were Soldiers, the things hidden between the dailies, the call sheets, and the silences. Stay until the end, guys, because the final revelation changes how the entire film should be remembered. Let's begin. Fact number 1, the film refuses to win the war. Most war films build toward triumph. We Were Soldiers deliberately avoids that arc. What audiences didn't know is how intentional this restraint is from the first draft onward. The story isn't about victory, it's about endurance, not conquest, but cost. Scenes are structured to end unresolved. Conflicts pause rather than conclude. The battlefield doesn't offer closure, only continuation. This choice unsettles early test audiences who expect momentum. Instead, the film holds its ground, not celebration, but consequence, not relief, but responsibility. The result is a war film that doesn't reassure, it remembers. Fact number 2, Mel Gibson's casting is a risk the studio debates. Casting Mel Gibson isn't a safe bet in this context. What audiences didn't know is that the studio worries his star presence will overwhelm the material. The concern isn't performance, it's gravity. Can the audience see a commander instead of a celebrity? The answer depends on restraint. Gibson strips away flourish, he lowers his voice, he stills his body. Not charisma, but command. The performance works because it refuses heroics. He doesn't dominate scenes, he anchors them. That restraint becomes the film's spine. Fact number 3. The script is treated like a historical document. Rewrites happen, but carefully. What audiences didn't know is that changes are debated like archival edits. Dialogue is trimmed, not enhanced. Scenes are shortened, not expanded. The goal isn't drama, it's accuracy of tone. Conversations feel clipped because real conversations under pressure are clipped. Not speeches, but fragments. Not poetry, but procedure. This discipline frustrates some creatives. It defines the film. Fact number 4, weather becomes an unwritten character. Rain delays shooting repeatedly. Heat drains energy. Mud reshapes blocking. What audiences didn't know is how much the environment dictates the film's pacing. Instead of fighting conditions, the production adapts. Movement slows, frames widen. The battlefield feels heavy because it is. Not controlled chaos, but lived disorder. The weather doesn't add realism, it enforces it. Fact number 5, helicopter sequences are filmed with surgical caution. Aerial shots are deliberately limited. What audiences didn't know is that this isn't a budget shortcut. It's a safety-first creative choice. Fewer angles, fewer passes. Every flight planned precisely on paper before cameras ever roll. Instead of constant overhead spectacle, the film relies on sound, vibration, and anticipation. You don't see every movement. You hear it approach. You feel the delay. Not spectacle, but suggestion. That restraint turns absence into tension and tension into dread. Fact number 6, the film avoids musical manipulation. Music arrives late and leaves early. What audiences didn't know is how many scenes are stripped of score entirely. No swelling cues, no emotional steering. Silence becomes weight. The absence forces viewers to sit inside moments rather than escape them. It's not telling you how to feel. It's refusing to soften the experience. That choice unsettles audiences conditioned to emotional release. The discomfort isn't accidental, it's part of the design. Fact number 7. Actors train for stillness, not action. Preparation focuses on posture, timing, and awareness. What audiences didn't know is how little emphasis is placed on movement. The goal isn't aggression, it's control. Soldiers wait, they observe, they hold position longer than feels comfortable. That restraint is practiced, not improvised. Stillness becomes authority. When movement finally happens, it carries weight because it's rare. Not constant motion, but pressure held in reserve. Fact number 8. Dialogue is designed to sound incomplete. Lines trail off, orders overlap, conversations collide. What audiences didn't know is that this chaos is rehearsed. Dialogue is written to compress information, not explain it. People interrupt because they would. Sentences don't resolve because time doesn't allow it. The film resists clarity in favor of realism, not polished exchanges, but functional communication. It sounds unfinished because it is. That roughness makes it feel lived in. Fact number 9. The film refuses a single point of view. Perspective shifts quietly and constantly, command, ground, home. What audiences didn't know is that the editing avoids anchoring the story to one dominant experience. No single viewpoint explains everything. The battlefield fragments attention. The film mirrors that fracture. You're never allowed full understanding, only partial awareness. Not confusion for its own sake, but honesty. War doesn't present itself cleanly, neither does this story. Fact number 10. The midpoint is built to exhaust you. The film's center doesn't escalate, it drains. What audiences didn't know is how deliberately this section is paced to feel heavy. Scenes stretch, beats repeat, progress slows, time thickens. The audience feels the same fatigue the characters do. There's no twist to wake you up, just endurance. Go ahead and like and subscribe because this film doesn't rush truth, and neither should we. Fact number 11. Combat is shot to confuse, not clarify. Spatial clarity is intentionally sacrificed. What audiences didn't know is that confusion is the point. You don't always know where danger comes from. The camera doesn't orient you comfortably. Movement breaks patterns. Threats arrive from unseen directions. This isn't sloppy filmmaking, it's experiential design. Not clean geography, but uncertainty. The audience shares the same disorientation as the people on screen. Fact number 12. The film avoids glorified framing. There are no slow-motion triumphs, no heroic silhouettes. What audiences didn't know is how many visually striking shots are rejected for being too beautiful. Beauty would undermine the tone. The camera stays grounded, functional, restrained. Frames prioritize clarity over spectacle, not elevation, but proximity. The result feels less cinematic and more immediate. That restraint keeps the focus on consequence, not imagery. Fact number 13. Emotional moments are underplayed on purpose. Grief arrives quietly, relief fades quickly. What audiences didn't know is how often performances are dialed back intentionally. Actors are directed to hold emotion instead of releasing it. No speeches, no extended reactions. Feelings exist, but they don't perform. That restraint prevents sentimentality. Emotion becomes heavier because it's contained. Not absence, but compression. Fact number 14. The home front is treated with equal gravity. Scenes away from the battlefield aren't designed as relief. What audiences didn't know is that these moments carry the same pacing discipline. The tension simply shifts shape, different stakes, same weight. Silence replaces noise, waiting replaces movement. The film refuses to let viewers rest emotionally. War doesn't pause when the location changes. Neither does the story. Fact number 15. The film resists simplistic villains. Opposition is rarely framed in close detail. What audiences didn't know is that this distance is deliberate. The film avoids caricature. Threats remain real without being exaggerated. You don't need spectacle to understand danger. Not demonization, but presence. That restraint keeps the focus on experience rather than labels. Fact number 16. Editing prioritizes continuity of feeling. Cuts follow emotion, not precision. What audiences didn't know is how often technically perfect shots are removed because they disrupt rhythm. The edit favors flow over clarity. Moments breathe longer than expected. Transitions linger. Feeling guides structure, not sharpness, but cohesion. The film moves the way memory does, uneven, weighted, incomplete. Fact number 17. The film ends without resolution by design. There's no release valve at the end. What audiences didn't know is that alternate conclusions are discussed and dismissed. Closure would be dishonest. The story stops because the experience doesn't conclude neatly. The lack of resolution isn't absence, it's respect, not satisfaction, but truth. Fact number 18. The title is a statement, not a description. We Were Soldiers is past tense by choice. What audiences didn't know is how intentional that framing is. Identity changes under pressure. The film isn't about who they are, it's about who they were forced to become. That distinction matters. Memory replaces identity. The title reflects that shift. Fact number 19. Critics misread its restraint as simplicity. Early reactions label the film straightforward. What audiences didn't know is how much discipline hides beneath that surface. Complexity isn't announced, it's embedded. The film doesn't explain itself loudly, it trusts attention. That quiet confidence is often mistaken for simplicity, it's anything but. Fact number 20. The film gains power with time. As war films grow louder, We Were Soldiers grows quieter and stronger. What audiences didn't know is how deliberately it refuses escalation. No bigger moments, no raised volume. It doesn't compete for attention or chase spectacle. It waits. That patience becomes its power. The film trusts time to do the work. Scenes linger, meaning deepens. Memory replaces impact, not louder, but deeper. And that restraint is why the film endures long after the noise fades. Bonus fact. The film was never meant to be comfortable. From the beginning, the goal isn't entertainment, it's responsibility. What audiences didn't know is that the filmmakers openly discuss discomfort as success. If viewers leave unsettled, the film has done its job. Not satisfaction, but remembrance. We Were Soldiers survives because it refuses spectacle. It doesn't shout history, it listens to it. In a genre obsessed with escalation, this film chooses discipline, and that choice is why it lasts. If this changed how you see the movie, let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more stories hidden behind the screen, not just a war film, a record of restraint.